Scientists have found microplastics and nanoplastics in human brains. They have also found them inside artery plaques. That sounds like the opening line of a science fiction horror movie. But unfortunately, this is not fiction. The real question is not whether plastic particles are entering the human body. The real question is, what does that actually mean for our health? A study published in Nature Medicine analyzed human tissue samples and reported microplastics and nanoplastics in the brain, liver, and kidneys of deceased individuals. The brain samples had higher concentrations than liver or kidney samples, and samples from dementia cases showed even higher levels. That sounds terrifying. But here is the part headlines often skip. This does not prove that microplastics cause dementia. It shows association and accumulation. And in science, association is not the same thing as causation. Apparently, this sentence still needs to be explained every 6 minutes on the internet, because otherwise everyone starts preparing for the plastic apocalypse. Still, we should not dismiss the finding. The fact that these particles are being detected in human organs, including the brain, matters. Microplastics are tiny fragments of plastic. Nanoplastics are even smaller. Because of their size, they may cross biological barriers, interact with tissues, and trigger inflammation or oxidative stress. But the exact long-term health impact in humans is still being studied. So the correct emotional response is not panic. It is concern plus curiosity, which is less fun for clickbait, but much better for your nervous system. Now let's talk about the cardiovascular evidence. A major study published in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at people undergoing surgery for carotid artery disease. Researchers analyzed plaque removed from their arteries. They found microplastics and nanoplastics in some of those plaques, and the people whose plaques contained these particles had a higher risk of heart attack, stroke, or death during follow-up. That is a serious signal. But again, we need to be precise. This was an observational study. It does not prove that plastic particles caused the cardiovascular events. It shows that their presence was associated with higher risk. Why might microplastics be a problem biologically? Several mechanisms are being investigated. They may contribute to inflammation. They may increase oxidative stress. They may affect endothelial function, which is the health of the inner lining of blood vessels. They may carry chemical additives. They may interact with immune cells. And very small particles may behave differently from larger plastic fragments. But right now, we are still in the early stage of human evidence. The signal is concerning. The mechanism is plausible. The proof is not complete. That distinction matters. Because the internet has two favorite settings. This means nothing, or we are all doomed by Tuesday. Science, annoyingly, lives in the middle. So where are microplastics coming from? Everywhere. Plastic packaging, synthetic clothing fibers, dust, food containers, bottled water, cutting boards, air, soil, seafood, processed foods. Even tea bags and takeout containers can contribute depending on materials and heat exposure. And heat matters. When plastic is heated, scratched, degraded, or exposed to fatty foods, particle release can increase. That is why microwaving food in plastic containers is one of the easiest habits to stop. Not because one meal will destroy your health, but because repeated exposure adds up. So, what can you actually do? First, avoid heating food in plastic. Use glass, ceramic, or stainless steel when possible. Second, reduce bottled water use if you have access to safe, filtered water. Third, use a good water filter if practical. Fourth, avoid storing hot or fatty foods in plastic containers. Fifth, reduce ultra-processed packaged foods. Not only because of microplastics, but because those foods bring a whole circus of metabolic problems with them anyway. Sixth, clean indoor dust. Microfibers from synthetic textiles can contribute to indoor exposure, so vacuuming and ventilation are not glamorous, but they help. Yes, adult health sometimes means vacuuming. Tragic, but here we are. But do not let this become another anxiety trap. You cannot eliminate microplastics completely. No normal person can live inside a glass bubble eating hand-polished organic moon vegetables. The goal is reduction, not perfection. A few smart changes can lower exposure without turning your life into a full-time environmental laboratory. Here is the honest summary. Microplastics and nanoplastics have been detected in human tissues, including brain tissue and artery plaques. The findings are concerning. They may be linked with inflammation, vascular disease, and possibly neurological conditions. But we do not yet have final proof that they directly cause these diseases in humans. So the best response is not panic, it is informed action. Reduce avoidable exposure. Support better regulation. Use less plastic where it is easy. Avoid heating food in plastic. And pay attention as the research develops. The scariest part is not that one study found plastic in the body. The scariest part is that plastic has become so normal in modern life that finding it inside us almost feels predictable. Which, honestly, is not the kind of progress humanity should be proud of. Have you changed anything to reduce plastic exposure? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this helped you understand the science without panic, like, subscribe, and send it to someone who still microwaves lasagna in a plastic container like civilization was a mistake.